Michael Gibson. I am the CEO of Norm Therapy, Inc. I'm also the creator of Norm Therapy. Some 3 decades of my life, and not in a very continuous, but quite a contiguous manner over the years, I have been working on Norm Therapy and the tenets of it, as well as its principles and techniques that I acquired from being around the world. In the past 6 years, have implemented norm therapy through a 501c3 called Abuse Refuge Org, which is a U.S. IRS approved public charity. But norm therapy has always been a for-profit endeavor. So Norm Therapy Inc. actually undergirds the nonprofit Abuse Refuge Org, which is affectionately known as ARROW, A-R-O. And at ARROW, we've been providing free services for abuse care victims and survivors from around the world, free of charge, without any cost to them whatsoever. Through our for-profit arm, Norm Therapy Inc., we, of course, charge money there. We have since developed a for-profit model online where we no longer give away the services free. At least on the for-profit side. We are interested, of course, of always undergirding the nonprofit. So 10% of all allocations of sessions to patients who are victims and survivors will be still free of charge. And they will be granted to, of course, Abuse Refuge Org, the nonprofit. And you will still be able to receive services there free of charge. Here's the thing. There's only so much we can do. So those free sessions are very limited. So if you want them, you have to sign up for them now. And it's also based on the amount of paid sessions that we have in play, because it's almost impossible to keep the lights on without any kind of support to that. I blurred my background, so it's doing that. You know, you have that black background. I like it though with the microphone. Anyway, we'll go back into that. I'm going to be changing the platform a little bit from Zoom to another platform where I'll be able to put up graphics and have names and all that. That's going to start in the upcoming sessions. I think not this one is coming, but the ones after that, they will be upcoming. But anyway, so look forward to an opportunity to get norm therapy sessions. I think it's very important that if you are being abused in any of the 21 abuses that we champion, at Norm Therapy and as well as Abuse Refuge Org, then get in line. We'll help you, and we have some amazing norm therapists that we train in our facility. But today, I want to talk a little bit about our guest. Her name is Radha Burela. She's a person who wears many hats especially in the offboarding and onboarding department at Abuse Refuge Org. She's a volunteer. She's an amazing human being. I get a chance to work with her almost every day. Getting information back and forth and putting it in our servers. And I really enjoy her. She has a great demeanor, a very intelligent woman. We're going to talk about some issues that are important to her. She's a staff member. She's been with us for a little while, and I'm so proud to have her involved in what we do worldwide. So I'll say this, without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and ask Radha to come in, and I want her to introduce herself and tell you a little bit about her. Hi, Radha. How are you? Good to see you.
Hi, Michael. Good to see you as well. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to this podcast. Yeah.
Well, you're very welcome. In 100 years from now, people will watch this go, wow, these guys were really pioneers in those days when it came to and other things, of course, because I'm just introducing all of you to our platform, introducing the world to you. So as our traction picks up, and all of the videos and sessions and podcasts that we've had, I'm sure that millions of people will be frequenting our sites in the future. And so let's just give them a good show today to make sure they get some good information from us. So tell us a little bit about you, Radha, please.
Okay, so I'm working at Arrow as an onboarding and onboarding supervisor for the past 6 months, and I'm very much enjoying working with this organization and beautiful managers who are very supportive and very good at mentoring in doing the tasks, the process of onboarding the new volunteers into this organization. And I also see different I was also like added to different channels in Arrow that talks about, the hobbies and the humor that they would like to share. These things
How about the Slack
kind
channels
of,
the
yeah,
Slack
those are, hmm yeah, those kind of brighten my day, bringing humor to me when I'm like seriously thinking of or upset for any reason, it
Yeah,
is really overall I would like to summarize that I'm very much enjoying with working with Arrow, and it's really a pleasure working with
I
everyone.
know.
Yeah.
It warms my heart that you say that because they put a lot of work and time into those Slack channels.
Yes.
I mean, our editor of our editorial department, uh,
Yeah, Amanda.
Amanda, he'll just,
Yes.
oh my God,
Yeah.
she puts something into almost every channel every day, and
Yes.
also blogs and everything. Like we got like 30 or
Yes.
40 channels, and she fills them up with all kinds of good stuff. So I'm glad
Yes.
you're enjoying yourself. You think the
Yes.
corporate culture of Arrow is a good one?
Yes, very much, very much. I'm really enjoying it. And Kelly's motivational quotes also very like, touching, and really they inspire me
Kelly's
to
really gooey. She's very gooey. Like, yeah, of course. But she put a lot of work in
yes.
making sure that Arrow, which she is a global executive director.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm the CEO, but she's definitely the global executive. And she's created a great environment over there, as well as at
Yes.
Norm Therapy. It's pretty much the same environment. People love working with us. They
Yeah.
absolutely they leave us because they get married or they move on to another job or something like that. And they'll say things all the time like, this is the best working environment we've ever worked in,
Yes.
ever, anywhere in the
Yeah.
world. And
Yeah.
I like that.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
can credit
And
a
I
lot.
have a wonderful manager attorney who is very patient and, very supportive.
Oh,
She's the
she's
best.
amazing. She's one of
Sorry.
my favorite people.
Oh, nice. Yeah, she is a
Really
very,
amazing.
very, very
Yeah.
kind and very patient, you know.
And extremely bright. She's very
Yes.
intelligent.
Yes.
She has a
Absolutely.
grasp on everything,
Hmm.
arrow and norm therapy. Pretty smart lady. Plus, she's a norm therapist.
Oh,
So
yeah, that's right. Uh-huh.
she's very well trained, and
Mm-hmm.
she deals with people in a very calm and collected manner all the
Yes.
time.
Hmm.
And you
Yeah.
know what I've heard most about her is that she gives everybody a voice.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah,
Everybody has a
that's
voice,
right. Hmm.
and
Yeah.
and it matters. And that's what Kelly gives to the whole company is a voice. And so they feel comfortable making sure that the people beneath them or lateral to them have a voice. So
Hmm.
not a bad day over there. And I really enjoy that work environment. And we have people from all races, all colors, all sizes, all genders. We have them at the organization, and everybody seems to get along very well. But
Yes.
anyway,
So,
um, I know something is important to you are disabilities. Can you tell us why disabilities are important to you?
because nowadays I'm seeing a lot of kids, with some kind of disability. If it is not from birth, due to some accidents in their life, they are becoming disabled. So, and also like I frequently hear the stories of autism too. So
Yeah.
yeah, autism especially in girls, it highly concerns me how they would be able to handle abusiveness. That's what
Well,
constantly, like, I keep thinking, how do they handle this?
awesome.
How can it be helped? I mean, how can it be prevented to for such kind of
Well,
disabled?
one of the things I think that people have um, misclassified in over life is they look at any kind of uh, physical and sometimes mental impairment as almost a disease, and it's not. It's
Mhm.
just a physical condition or mental condition you happen to be in or deprived from. It's not that something is wrong with you, the person. Is just that whatever that malady is, autism, it's affecting you. And I
Okay.
think that people who are incapable
Hmm.
of protecting themselves especially the disabled and the vulnerable. We remember we have a norm therapist who came on our show. He's a quadriplegic, and he operates everything through a straw. It's really interesting to watch him. He also went through norm therapy training, and he was telling a story about, he had gone to some facilities in his life. He's 30-some-year-old man now, but he's gone through some facilities where they would, he was immobile, he couldn't move, and they would kind of beat on him. They would treat him poorly.
Oh.
They would feed him. They'd leave him his own feces, those types of things. He was very explicit about it. And it broke my heart because, I think that people who are able-bodied have a thinking process going on in their brain, and they're able to oftentimes combat the abuses in life. He wasn't. So I know your affection for the disabled community must mean a great deal to you, especially even when it comes to things like autism. Because oftentimes people who have autistic nature or autistic effect or defect, we would call it in some cases, because sometimes it's a point of brilliance in the autistic people, but in other times it's a point of detriment and latent abilities. But even that class of person that you champion must be undergoing tremendous abuse as well. Because people are brutal. Let's just face it. Humans are they're the worst people on the planet, or worst, species on the planet when it comes to being brutal to one another for no apparent reason. Now, other animals in the kingdom around the world, lions and tigers and bears, they're brutal to one another for survival of the fittest, because it's natural, because, order selection, and many other reasons they become, brutal to one another. But we do it for sport as humans. We hurt people because we can, not because we should or shouldn't, but we can. And that's a shame that we do that. And that's the cause of a lot of abuse. Now, also our political, economic, and our, I want to say, freedoms as citizens of the world have been greatly challenged over the past few decades in many parts of the world, to include the United States and other countries around the world. So people are feeling trapped. They're feeling totally isolated from one another. So how do you think that, for instance, COVID-19, when that happened and everybody was shut in, how do you think a lot of people suffered during that time, being shut in with their abusers? How do you think that went?
That's really pathetic to think about, because they don't have any outlet, and I don't know how they survived, because no one allowed to step out. Everything is like we are confined to the house. So it's really, I mean, I can't think of the situation that they went through during that time. May not be with COVID, but with the abusive treatment at home, they might have lost their lives. I really feel
Nobody would know why. No one would ever check. There were so many bodies on the street around the world that no one knew why they died.
Yes.
You know how many murders were committed during from abuse. The perfect opportunity to be shut in, no access to police, no real access to emergency services, and no one to speak or champion on your behalf. I mean, we survived through COVID. Arrow did. We, talked to a lot of people, but we couldn't get to everybody. It was really a tremendous effort, a Herculean effort during this time. What were you about to say?
Sorry?
You were about to say something.
No, I was saying, I really feel really pity for those, abuse victims during that pandemic time, because they were so helpless, and God knows how they took the pandemic era. It's really heartbreaking to think about them.
Yes, it really was. Do you do a lot of traveling?
I do, but only to India mostly, and in US, like we recently moved from New York to Tampa, only my husband and me. My older
Mhm.
son is still in New York, so nowadays once in 2 months or so I visit my older son. And recently they also had a son, so I'm a grandma too. So
Congratulations. So
thank
what's your
you.
grandson's name? What's your grandson's name?
His name is Kiran.
Keaton.
Yeah,
K-I-R-A.
Kiran.
Wonderful name. I
Yeah,
love that name. Keaton.
thank
Very
you.
powerful name. Yes,
Yeah,
well, congratulations. So you must
thank
be
you.
as happy.
Sorry, I'm losing your voice.
I said you must be as happy as you can possibly
Oh,
be.
oh yeah.
I'm
It's
glad to
like,
hear that.
mm,
So this is his first child and your first grandchild?
yes, he's my first grandchild.
Oh, look out. This kid is going to be spoiled.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's the good thing about
Uh-huh.
parents.
Yeah,
You can be strict to your kids, but your grandkids are always your open season to have fun and
yeah,
enjoy. So
ab-
there you go. That's a good
yeah.
thing. So
Uh-huh.
how's the grandfather feeling? Your husband, how does he feel about
Yeah,
being a
he's also very excited, and we always look forward, and every day we look forward for a new picture of him, which I say, joy pill of the day.
that is one. Well, you know what? Family is everything,
Yes,
especially when you have a loving environment. You
yes,
just said something
yeah,
that defines happiness. I always
yes,
tell people happiness is having something to look forward to.
yes,
And
yeah,
you got something to look forward to, you are happy.
yeah,
And you like, I can't wait for the next picture,
yeah,
every
hmm,
day. That must bring great joy to your family and your house. That is
yeah,
good.
yeah,
With the backdrop of abuse in places in the world, some people never experience even the thought of,
hmm,
I can't wait to get another picture.
yeah,
They don't even experience that. They
yes,
don't they don't understand that someone loving and kind is going to come to their rescue and
hmm,
you're okay. I love you and I got your back.
yeah,
Most abuse victims and whatever kind of abuse they're suffering, they never receive that. And if they do receive it, they don't believe it.
hmm,
They
true.
become so reticent to good things
Mm,
and happening for them that they don't feel good when somebody says something good or
yeah,
treats them well
yeah,
because they've been under such abuse. And it's
hmm,
hard to break out from
yes,
your abusers.
hmm.
Um, in India, I spent a lot of time in India as well.
Oh,
And
nice.
yes, and one of the cities, I mean, it's a busy city. A lot you can do there is Mumbai, old Bombay.
Yeah.
I kind of hate it there. It's just too many people. It's too hot. People. It's it's crazy. And I actually stayed normally at the Taj,
Oh,
where
Taj. Okay.
yeah, Taj, and then it's barricaded in because some years back, people
Yep.
assassins went and killed a
Hmm,
lot.
hmm.
Hey,
Yeah.
the hotel, you can't even tell that there was any damage other than it's surrounded by sandbags and barbed wire and everything, and you
Yes.
can't get in unless you are a guest.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
that's why I normally stay. It's one of the most fortified places. But when I
Mm.
go out into the city, uh, I just see so many people and so many people being abused um, there in India. I really do.
Hmm. Yeah,
Uh,
it's uh I'm assuming, sorry to interrupt you. I'm
no, interrupt me,
assuming,
please. That's the whole
yeah.
idea. Interrupt me, please. Go ahead.
No, I'm not sure when you went, but nowadays I mean, the time has changed, so you won't be able to see that much of like poverty. Though there is a poverty and being abused, you won't see it in all the places, because with the time people have changed, so they won't accept that abusiveness anymore. That's what I have noticed during my recent visit to India.
That's that.
So
That's a one. It's been a few years, but I plan on. I know I have to go to India in the next couple of years anyway. So I'd love to be able to catch up and figure
mm,
out what happens there, because it's one of those places where there's so many people
mhm,
and everybody's fighting for something.
mm,
They're most peaceful people in the world fighting for something. It's the weirdest vibe when I'm there because everybody's wonderful, namaste, and all this is
mm,
wonderful, and
mhm,
then they're the most peaceful people, but at the same time, don't rub them raw because they'll, deal with you harshly. It's
Yes.
one of the most interesting cultures on the planet and very eclectic culture, different people and kinds of people everywhere. So you have to
Yes.
be mindful of how you deal with people and more importantly, how they deal with you.
Mm.
So anyway, that's a whole nother conversation we can go into. I'm more interested now in people are being bombarded in society with
Mhm.
a lot of distractions.
Mm.
Social media is one of the biggest distractions, I think.
Mhm. Yeah.
And as a parent in raising kids, because they now have grandkids, so there you go. But
Mhm.
in raising children, how did you protect your kids with social media and all of that bringing them up? Did you protect them in a way that helped them a lot, or how did you do it?
Um, all this has happened something like recently, the more of a social media thing, but when my kids were in their high school, um, there was only like social media, it's only like face to the extent of Facebook
Yes.
and the school's social group. That's it.
Okay. So you
So
are
I
monitoring those things.
so I could handle them. I used to say, like, okay, now this is a study time. You have to keep your phones right in front of me and go to your room and study.
Active participation in a child's life is everything.
Yes,
Children want to be led. Children need to be led. And I
yes.
think that their opinions, the
Mhm.
opinions of children are important. Like,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
their voice is very important. Like,
Yes.
and the way they think of things like, hey,
Yeah.
how's little Jimmy down the block? Oh, he's
Hmm.
great. How do you like
Yes.
your new bicycle? Give me
Yeah.
your opinion. Do you want to get a swimming pool in the
Mm.
backyard for the summer?
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
kinds of opinions matter. But
Yes.
all of the decisions, when it
Hmm.
comes to decisions with children, the parents should make them.
Yes. Yeah.
I see people negotiating with their kids all the time, and
Hmm.
the child end up being the parent
Yeah.
and telling the parents what they will and will not do. And I
Hmm.
think that's where we've lost a lot of our children to
Yeah.
social media because they now have other influences,
Yes.
like
Right.
different characters and
Hmm.
different
Hmm.
blogs and different
Yeah.
videos. They
Yeah.
have access to porn. They have access to all kinds of things on the
Yes.
internet,
Hmm.
as a kid. So
Yes.
there'll be no shock and awe. There'll be no surprises for them in their life. There'll be no learning curves because they already have it in their face.
Yes. Hmm. Yeah.
And they think they know what it means, and they
Hmm.
really don't. And because
Yes.
they don't know what it means,
Yeah.
oftentimes children get themselves in trouble because they
Yes.
think they know it just because they saw it online.
Hmm.
Sometimes you tell me, well, I read it in a book, or in a podcast, I saw it,
Yeah.
or I saw it online, or they say, I love this statement when people say, they say that da da da, and they say that da da da. Who the hell is they? Excuse the
Yeah.
expression, sir. Who's they? Think about it. Who is they?
Yeah.
But people oftentimes think they know what they're talking about, but they don't have an idea of what they're talking about. They only heard what they said.
Hmm. Yeah.
They is, and I think that
Right.
that's what parents have lost their kids because the parents should be they. The
Yeah.
parents should
Yeah.
always
I
be
like,
they.
I'm very much open to my kids in that way. Like if they are going for any um school functions, or sometimes they used to have like sleepovers and those things. I used to very openly ask them what they did, and what is accepted during the playtimes and during the sleepovers, what is accepted and what is not accepted. These are do's and don'ts. I used to list them up front, and be frank with me no matter what. I won't be mad if you are frank with me. I don't want to hear from anybody. I want to hear from your mouth. So I won't
Perfect.
get embarrassed and you won't
That's
get embarrassed.
that is the way a parent should be. Right?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you are epitomizing. You are just making a standard for parents here. I
Yes.
think the parents' knowledge of what their children are doing and
Hmm.
getting honesty,
Yeah.
demanding honesty, and also providing a safe and open space
Hmm.
for the kids to be brave
Yes.
and say, Mom, this is what's really happening.
Mm.
Parents don't do, one of the things I hate to hear parents say more than anything else. More than anything, one of the things I hate in all of my sessions with patients all over the world The one thing I hate when a parent says is because I'm your parent. Why didn't you tell him because I'm your parent? That's
Yeah.
not enough. It's not enough. It'll never be enough to just be somebody's parents, and that's why they should do it. The child should feel respected,
Yes.
that their communication with you is sacred.
Hmm.
It, it's mature, or it's
Yeah.
being matured by the practice of communication with your parent,
Mm.
and that it's understood. Even
Yeah.
if it's not agreed with, it's talked about in a
Yes.
way that's not threatening to the
Hmm.
child.
Right.
So when a
Absolutely
parent
right.
says, yeah, when a parent says, oh my God, got my head just doing that. I love it. When a parent says, uh, because I'm your father, or I'm telling you to do this because I'm your mother, that's the worst thing you can say to a child,
Yes.
because now they don't get it. They're like,
Yes.
okay, you're my parent, but you still haven't answered my question.
Yeah.
So where are they gonna go? Elsewhere to find the answer.
Yeah.
They're gonna go to the internet. They're gonna go to
Uh,
their friends. They're gonna go to
uh,
their neighbor who always cusses his mom's out, his mother or
uh,
father out. You go to hell, mom. Go to
mm,
hell, dad. They're gonna learn that from him. That which
mm,
you say, because I'm your parent, because I'm
mm,
your mom or dad, they're gonna go there. But the way you parent is, I think, exemplary.
yeah.
One of the main reasons I want to get on here and talk about your family and you.
Mhm.
When I talk to you during the day,
Uh,
sometimes when we're putting things together in the back office, I always say to myself, I love this woman. She is
oh,
truly amazing. She has a wonderful spirit.
thank
Everything you ever say and do is very nice and cordial and respectful. I think everything you do in life that I've noticed and witnessed since you've been with Arrow
mhm.
is starts with respect,
Thank you. Thank
and,
you.
and it ends with respect. And I think
Mhm.
that we, of course, reciprocated the same to you.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
it's always been intriguing about you, about how do
Mhm.
you raise how are you going to make sure that your children and their children grow up to be like you? How are you going to make sure of that? Do you know? I wanted to know that answer. And that's a wonderful.
Um, a few times, uh, I keep telling them my expectations of how it should be like, like for example, I keep telling them like whenever you come to know that I'm visiting you, just make sure have a housekeeper and clean the house. I don't want because they are so lazy to clean the house, right? So
Mom said, you better keep the house clean while I'm there.
yes.
Well, see, and kids, even when you have a 20-year-old kid or a 30-year-old kid,
Mhm.
they still your kid for
Yes.
the rest of their
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
To you, they're your child. They're not like
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah, my younger son, who is like right now 23, sometimes when he talks, he'll say, You are my mom. I keep telling, yes, for this life, I'm your mom, but you have to listen to me.
Well, let's just set things straight from the beginning.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really like that. I think that, but everything like starts with respect with you, but respect always engenders an atmosphere of love.
Yes. Yeah.
It really
Uh-huh.
does.
Right.
So, and that's what I tell people all the time. Without respect, love means nothing. All you're
Yes.
doing is that's lip service, that's
Mhm.
words.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you respect someone,
Hmm. Yeah.
you're also capable of loving them deeply.
Yes. Hmm.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
those two things, I always
Yeah.
tell people there are two things that you take with you when you die. One, you take the love in your heart with you when you die.
Mm-hmm.
And two, you take your reputation.
Yes.
Those are the two things you take with you when you die. So
Mm-hmm.
as you treat people in life, you hear people say it all the time. When I die, nobody's going to show up because you haven't affected anybody's lives. In
Yeah.
order to affect someone's life, Raja, don't you think you have to get involved with that life a little bit and
Yeah, of
respect it,
course. Of
love it,
course.
and treat it well, and tell them when they're wrong, tell them when they're right, support them.
Yeah.
We don't do that anymore as a
Mm.
society. There was a time when entire families helped to raise a child,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
very commonplace and very normal, especially in the
Mm-hmm.
West. You in Tampa. So,
Mm-hmm.
Americans, we, think we're ahead of everybody in the world in a lot of areas, and we are, but we're not in a lot of other areas,
No. Yeah.
especially parents. I think we allow our children to do too much. We
Mm-hmm.
allow them to see too much. We allow them to
Yeah.
have too much access to money. We allow
Mm-hmm.
them to do so many things that ultimately destroy their lives. What do you think about
Yeah, it's not like just the parents. I won't say the parents are blamed for that. It's the children's, behavior too, which is not
that?
brought
Their
up.
peers,
Yeah,
their
and
peers.
the peer pressure and the friend circles that they handle at school also causes, no matter how much the parents try to convince and try to make the kids understand, it's sometimes kids are out of control. So in order to stop them going into the wrong path, or when they try to fix them also, sometimes kids are like, no, that's not what they wanted. They just want to do what they like to do, that's it.
Well,
So
according to leading researchers and psychologists and psychiatrists, it has been widely published as well as spoken of in these circles that children are more influenced by their environment than their
yeah,
parents or their friends. The
absolutely.
environment in which they find themselves, because you'll find twins of a family, twins,
Yeah,
where one of them grow up to be straight and get married, the other one's gay and get married. Two
yeah,
different people grew up in the
yeah,
same household, same
yeah.
people, but the stimulus they had in their entire environment
Mm-hmm.
shaped them or helped
Yeah,
them to go one way or the other,
yeah.
whether it's sexuality, whether it's their personality, whether they're addicted to drugs or not, or
Mm-hmm.
any of those types of things that occur in life that are just different from the other person.
Yeah.
And so environment plays a very important role. But then parenting and the lack of parenting is cyclical. It's very cyclical. And I say that because, and then I'll give you the floor because I want you to comment on this for sure. Because you said that, yeah, it's not always the parent's fault, and you're right. But if you just look at it in its cycle of abuse, its cycle of operation of how parenting occurs, those kids out there that are influencing, let's say your child, which didn't happen, but they're influencing your child.
Mm.
Chances are the parents were at fault for those kids out there who are actually influencing your kids.
Mm.
It may not be you and
Yeah.
your husband, but it
Mm-hmm.
may be them. And you
Yeah.
can't protect your kids from everything. I
Yeah.
mean, your kids, sooner or later, they have to live. They have to
Mm-hmm.
be out, meet other people, and do things.
Yes.
And one of the first things children learn in life is fear.
Mm.
You ever walk into a room, and this is my question, I'm saying all this for a reason. Every abuse in the world has an element of fear. People fear getting hurt. They fear being lied to. They fear being punished. They fear being hit. They fear being taken advantage of. They fear that their money is going to be taken from them. Financial abuse. So whatever the kind of abuse is normally underlying fear of that abuse. Or they fear being bullied.
Mm.
Or having a narcissist speak down rah, 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 to them.
Mm-hmm.
So when you walk into a bedroom, you ever walk in and you see a child laying there on the bed, a little baby, and you go boo, and they go, oh, ah. People do that. And that child now knows that anything that surprises them or comes out of nowhere, you're conditioning that baby in their most formative years, toddler, on to about 6 years old. You're teaching them to be afraid.
Mm. Yeah.
And what fear is. But also, you're honing in on their threat center, which is the amygdala that's in the brain, and the prefrontal cortex and lobes, all work in concert to handle your fear. It's your
Mm.
threat center to help you not freeze, to help you understand the fearful circumstances in which you're in, and then to deal with them. But also, fear is good. We've
Yeah.
made it bad. We in the 20th
Mm-hmm.
and 21st centuries, we made fear bad. Fear is good because it's an early warning system. Your fear is telling you that something's wrong. Be
Yes.
cautious, take cover, be careful, do the right thing. Fear will also help you if you understand how to use fear and control it. So, would you say, because I love talking about your children, by the way, would you say that you created some courageous children, or were they fearful growing up? How were they? I'm kind of assuming they were kind of courageous. This is what I'm thinking, but
Yeah, they are courageous. Yeah, I made them. I brought up them to be courageous. Because being fearful is not going to work, and they won't be able to face the world by being fearful.
You're
So
absolutely correct. You are
yeah,
absolutely. Listen, I love talking to you about you and your family. I do. And I know we've spent an enormous amount of time talking about your family today, but parents need to hear it. It's
yeah,
not that they're doing a bad job. This is where most parents fail. They think they're doing a bad job when they're doing the best they can, but they're not really doing a bad job. And if you look at it in context, even if they fail at many things in their relationship with their child, they're doing the best they can. What they don't know oftentimes is, what does that really mean, the best I can? There are
mhm,
no parameters there that they can say, okay, I need to do this, I need to do
mhm.
that, I need to. There's not a list of things.
That's
And they don't really go to a person like you, and that's why I wanted to make this comparison in this meeting today. They don't go to a person like you and say, how do you do it?
mhm,
What are your important milestones that you need to touch? And what are your most important objectives with your kids that you carry out and that you perform with your children in order to get the results from your children that you get and that you're now proud of? You got you didn't just create great children, you created great citizens and great moms and great
mhm,
dads, and that's what you created. And see,
mhm,
that is what most parents seem to want to think they failed at when they're not failed. They just haven't looked for the resources or the
mhm,
wisdom or the person or the example. You
mhm,
know, even if they don't agree with Indian customs, for instance, they have to agree with the respect that you exude and show your children and your friends and others all the time on a
mhm,
consistent basis, and your kindness, but your firmness too. They have to see that as valuable.
mhm,
Getting past any of the Indian conditions, customs, traditions, and mores, they get past that, because India is a very complicated place if you have, you know, your identity there, because everybody has, I mean, not everybody, but there are so many different kinds of Indian people that it's mind-boggling. You know, some of the belief systems, some of the dress, some of the histories are just wildly different oftentimes.
mhm,
So people have to sometimes get beyond that. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but they have to get beyond that so they can see you.
mhm.
And I
Yeah.
think in our atmosphere, in a world of xenophobia and racism that exists around the world, people are not always ready to see brown people, you know, or sometimes white people. They're not very ready to see people different from themselves because it scares them. It
Mhm.
just scares them. And so they stop trying to get to know you because you're different. So tell me, have you run into any of those types of situations where people see the good in you, but they don't know how to, you know, find out whether you can help them or not, or they don't look for any type of guidance? Are you running into that a lot, or are you giving a lot of guidance? Which one is it?
I ran into that kind of situations because when we were in New Jersey,
Mhm.
we bought a condominium. So we moved from um, diversified community only to a different diversified community.
Mhm.
And our next door neighbor in the community where we bought the condominium, she was like, um, are you comfortable staying in this street? That really puzzled me because that was like
You
after,
white, black,
yeah,
or
yeah, why?
white? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. That's a
So
very
after
interesting
six and a
opening.
half years of stay in US, that she's the first person who asked me like that. So it took a while for me to answer for her, and then I told her I'm quite comfortable,
Exactly.
because yeah.
But if you never leave your in New Jersey, if you never leave New Jersey, New York, which are probably two of the most diversified places on the planet. I mean, it's a melting. Every culture in the world is in New Jersey and New York. Every culture in the world exists there. But people are so segregated
Yes.
there.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
know, the Jewish people stay with the Jewish people, the Italians stay with the Italians, you know, the Polish
Yes.
stay with the Polish, and you
Yes.
know, the Indians stay with the Indians, the Chinese with the Chinese, and everybody else intermingle. It is a
Mhm.
melting pot. And white people stay, you know, Irish stay with the Irish. It's how it
Yeah,
is.
yeah. So
But
I
it's,
was puzzled.
of course, because it's a very myopic approach.
Yeah.
We've been taught. in the United States to stick with our own. Not because it's better to be with each other and we can take care of one another, but to stick with our own because the others don't want us. That's why, that's the underlying theme
Yeah.
in the United States in a lot of places. And foreigners see it right away.
Yeah.
When you go to the United States coming from India, you're like, oh, wait a minute, I can see this. This is plain as. And people who've been there all their lives, the lady who asked you the question, she doesn't even know why she asked you. She's
Yeah.
so
I don't
stuck
know.
being white and being with her people and not intermingling that she was compelled to ask you that. And it
I
has
know.
no relevance over anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
This is
Yeah.
probably not a racist. She's probably
No,
not a bad person or
no,
anything.
not at all. She was like, she was surprised to see me because, as you mentioned earlier, every culture and religion, they would like to have their company of, they would like to live in a group of companies of their, culture or
Us versus
country
them.
like that. Yeah.
Us versus them. And I'm glad. See, I talk about everything on this show. The reason why it's called socialization of abuse, not because everybody's abusive.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
if
I get
sometimes
it.
just being you
Mm-hmm.
and not even knowing better, don't even
Uh-huh.
know better, just
Yeah.
being yourself, brother, you know, you hurt people. Sometimes people hurt people
Yeah.
just being themselves, and they
Mm-hmm.
don't know that they're hurting people, or
Yeah.
insulting them or anything. Because you were like, what the heck is this lady talking about? But you
Yeah.
immediately knew what it was. You're like,
Yes.
okay.
Uh-huh.
It's a
Yeah.
form of xenophobia. It really is.
Mm.
But she doesn't know it. She doesn't
Yes.
know it. She
Hmm.
doesn't. And it's
Yeah.
not her fault. And it's most of the time when people postulate or stand themselves up and say,
Yeah.
this is who I am, it
Yeah.
will always infringe upon someone else.
Hmm.
Always.
Yeah.
It's not because you're trying to infringe, you're saying this is who I am.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Uh,
I can talk about this for hours with you.
Yeah,
So
so
tell me,
I
what is
had the same instances in New York when I started my career in New York as a QA analyst too. In one of the organization, there were no Indians. I'm the first Indian to join, so everybody was like, for a while, it took a while for them to accept me and and to digest. Like, okay, we can approach her, we can talk to her. She
right,
speaks
exactly.
English.
But
So
see, you have power. See, you have power. Your power is innate to you. It really is. I mean,
uh-huh.
you need power and confidence, and you're
Yeah.
smart, and you're a wonderful, and you have a great personality. So people, oftentimes, they're not that.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
they're a
you
little bit scared. I know. Yeah. Yeah,
found
that's
that a
what.
big challenge.
Mhm. Yeah, that's what I have noticed after coming here. And in my childhood too, we used to live in we used to live in metropolitan cities in back home in, you might be knowing you might be aware of Kolkata, and I was in
Yes, I am.
Bombay as well. So
Yeah.
I was mostly like living in metropolitan cities. So I have like most command on different languages and very much acquainted to work with diversified people. So I never had any fear. I'm very much approachable and people person.
I'm telling you, we should just open up a school and call it Raha Burela. And that's it, the Raha Burela School. Because a lot of moms, a lot of wives, a lot of girls, you know, fail in their selection of people in their lives and men and opportunities because they weren't treated, with a certain level of respect and reverence
Mhm.
and honesty and education as a woman like you have been inundated with in your life and been a part of. A lot of them don't have that. So they fear being powerful. They fear being open. They fear being a decision maker. They
Yeah.
fear these things because they
Mhm.
don't have that background. And that's one of the things we teach at norm therapy,
Mm.
those life lessons that a lot of people missed.
Mm.
We teach those. And so people can not overcome fear. I don't think there's a such thing as overcoming fear. As a matter of fact, I think it's bad to overcome fear. What I
Mm.
think is better to do is to control fear.
Yes.
Once you can control fear, you want that fear because it keeps you, sharp. And,
Yes.
when I was in special forces, we would do some things that were very dangerous all the time.
Mm.
I was always afraid. I'm not going to lie to you. I was always afraid, but I controlled my fear. I use it to help me focus, to help
Mm.
me zero in on what to do next. Because once bullets start flying across your head, once they start flying, all your plans go out the window.
Yes.
You just go out the window. You start doing
Uh-huh.
something. Hey, I have something for you. Because God, I enjoy talking to you. But we have some questions from the audience. Would you like to
Okay.
take one or two of them before
Of
we go?
course. Of course.
Okay, these are all for you. I know I talk a lot, but I love talking to you, so forgive me. Forgive.
Thank you.
But I'm going to ask you some questions, and our audience would love to have you comment.
Okay.
What is the most important life lesson you taught your children and you believe had a great impact on their lives?
I mean, don't trust everybody instantaneously. Take a while, make a judgment before you say yes. You don't have to reject or refuse them, but give it a time, think about it, and then you can say yes. And also, I sometimes say, you can also try like for something like any objects that you want to buy. In that nick of moment, you would say, okay, I want to buy that, but you don't know how you would be utilizing it, how much you will utilize it. So don't take any hasty decisions of not buying. It might be utilized at some point, if not right at that moment. So those are the don't lose any, and or don't lose any opportunities. If someone is coming with an opportunity, don't reject it. Just keep it, and think twice before saying no. That's what
No
I.
impulse buying, no impulse buying, and trust.
Yes.
Do you know those two things are probably the most important lessons you can? I agree with you. I think your children have to know who to trust, and it has to take time. Trust should be earned, not given.
Yeah.
And I think that that's very good. And that impulse buying, when people just, oh, I just love the way it looks on me. I love this blue car. Or I can't live without this
Yeah.
new coat or what. I think impulse shopping is probably one of the most devastating activities. So you got my vote 100% on both of those. Wonderful
Thank you.
advice. Couple more questions.
Mhm.
What are some of the biggest differences for instance, you've experienced between living in India and between living in the United States? What are some of the biggest differences?
Um, because I'll miss my parents, and
Ah, bless their hearts. Okay.
yeah, and my siblings. My brother, one brother, he lives in India, and also I miss my aunts and grandma, because
Oh,
after yeah, that
family is
kind of
everything.
lifestyle, staying in touch with the family, I miss that piece. Versus
Oh,
coming here, it gives a better education to my kids.
that's
That's
good. That's good.
yeah,
But that's the trade-off. That's the trade-off.
yeah,
We
yeah.
all survive something.
Yeah.
So you're saying that family and having that long distance between them is, one of the most difficult parts for you
Mhm.
adjusting to the U.S.
Yes.
life. And
Yeah.
I agree with you. I believe family is everything. And I
Uh-huh.
mean, if you knew what I've been through with my kids, you would just die. But it's a whole nother conversation. We'll have another. Okay, I'll ask you another question if I can. Um, yeah. What are one of the most important things that you've learned being a part or as a volunteer with Arrow? What's one of the most important things you've learned?
Uh, till I joined Arrow, I was not even aware of this kind of, the phase of abusive victims in my life, because I have not seen or heard about that many stories or anything like that. So that is what I have learned after joining Arrow. Like, there are different abusive victims, varieties of abusive,
Yeah.
abusiveness in the society. And there are a lot of victims who abused victims. And I
Yeah.
feel really sorry for them. And it makes me think more about them. And, I was thinking like, what other avenues can be opened to help them apart from the therapy? What else can be done to help them?
A
And,
system, yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'll answer that for you. See, norm therapy by itself,
Mm-hmm.
what we did in the past 6 years, because I worked on this for decades,
Mm-hmm.
and I kept it to myself. I just studied and worked on it and didn't really share it with a lot of people other
Mm-hmm.
than helping. And the last 6 years, we had to do something. I mean, what is norm therapy? People go, what is norm therapy? Well, we had to spend 6 years building empirical data, factual information about what we can do, testing the techniques
Mm-hmm.
and different styles of interview and all of the things that we needed to do in order to get that data back. Are
Mm-hmm.
we, helpful?
Mm-hmm.
Are we effective in the lives of these victims?
Yeah.
We had to get testimonials. Right now,
Mm-hmm.
we have literally hundreds and maybe even thousands of testimonials because everything
Oh.
we do is on video. Every single
Mm-hmm.
thing we do is on video.
Mm-hmm.
All of our meetings, all of our sessions, all of our training, everything's on video, and we record everything. So, with saying that, um, we've had a lot of people say, I used to be a certain kind of person, but when I finished norm therapy, the sessions, my life is completely changed. People oftentimes say, I look at everyone differently now. I used to look at everyone through a lens where I was fearful of everything. Now I look at everybody with bring it on. Let's deal with it. It's a whole another kind of attitude. Not that we want people to be, Billy bad butts,
Yes.
badass. We don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
But we want people to be confident in their activity and their actions and what they look forward to in life. And to
Yeah.
actually have something to which to look forward. I think that's an
That's good.
important premise under norm therapy. But we'll talk more about that. I'm going to have you on with other. I want to do a parents show one day where I have like 10 different couples in a session and maybe a 2-hour session where we sit and parents talk about parenting. We talk about abuse within families, abuse with their peers. We talk about what your children have gone through. I'd love to maybe get you and your husband together one day on a show with a bunch of other parents and talk about it. Because I find you to be exemplary. Your personality is truly strong. You have a strong personality. People know when you speak, you're dead serious. They don't have to guess. They always know that you're serious, but you're a happy person. That's something that parents want to learn that they've never been taught. Also, how you deal with your children. I think that you would be a breath of fresh air, you and your husband, to any show. I'm going to talk to Kelly about planning it where we can get couples to come on and talk about their experience parenting. So the onlookers in the world can say, okay, I got a lot to learn. Or they can say, I know that already. I will do that when I'm a parent. Or I'm going to start doing that now because I know that. And that's how I was raised. Sometimes people need to see it and identify with it before they can deploy it and use it. And I think that's important. I can go on and talk to you forever, but we only have like 7 minutes left, really 6, because I have to close us out. 5, really. So I'm going to give you these 5 minutes. And I'm going to ask you to talk to us about anything that your heart and your mind says okay to at the same time. Anything you want to talk about, it's okay. And we share on the open network. If there's any advices you want to give people, especially mothers, and then I'll give it to you after I say this. My mother used to say that the man is the head of the family. And then she would say, but the woman is the neck. Any way she turns that head is up to her. Okay, women are the strongest. When you educate a woman, you educate a family.
Yes.
That's simple. So please, tell us.
So it's basically you're asking me to give a kind of message to mothers of this generation, like what would be the best way to bring up their kids? I would say discipline. Discipline is more important. Uh,
Yes.
that that will put a lot of things in order. Whatever you do, like you do a playtime or starting from waking them up to till they go to bed, you should have a schedule for everything.
Yes.
Maybe it will be like, it could look like we are a strict parent, but once you adapt to the discipline of the time managing, it looks so easy, and you will enjoy the whole day and the life very happily. That's what I feel for everything, yeah.
We're conditioned as humans to be a certain way.
Yeah.
So if you go into your child's room and they say, "I'll get up in 5 minutes, 5 more minutes," or they'll say something like, "Oh, put the covers back over their heads," and you're a parent and you see them do that and you don't do anything about it, that child is going to grow up putting things off. They're going to
Yeah,
grow up
my
thinking that,
son, my both the sons, they do. I don't like, though, like from their childhood to till they went to the college, they are under very disciplined lifestyle.
yeah.
But the 4 years of undergrad, when they went to college, they are totally spoiled. So they don't. They keep saying, "Mommy, we hear you talking in our ear. I mean, we hear your voice in my ears while we are at college." But I say, though you hear, you don't get up from the bed. You are still on
They
the
have that core discipline, and I guarantee you their children will learn the same thing. I guarantee they'll teach your children, I mean, their grandchildren, your grandchildren, the same thing you taught them, because it's the
bed.
core of who you are
Uh,
that makes all the rest possible. And that was in their core. Listen, you got my whole attention span. I would love to interview you and your husband,
Thank
um,
you.
and and also with other couples, and I'm gonna start arranging that over the next after the summer. It'll be after the summer,
Oh, yeah.
and
Hmm.
people are back, on some type of, as you say,
Yes.
discipline. We'll have that, because I think that perspective is everything with parenting.
Yeah.
Perspective,
Yeah.
and,
Hmm.
and, and just like anything else in life, perspective and context.
Yes.
Context and perspective is so important to everything we do in life. And I think
Yes.
you just put a lot of context and a
Hmm.
lot of perspective on parenting and just being a strong, good woman in person. I'm very proud that you're a part of our organization, and I look forward to our next meeting and conversation.
Thank you. It's my pleasure being on this interview. I mean, in this live podcast with you. It was really a pleasure. And
Well, you're going to
um,
close us out. So let me quickly say my announcement, then I'm going to let you close us out. Is that okay?
oh, yeah, sure.
Okay, so if you've enjoyed and got something out of today's live podcast, share this session with a friend, of course, who could benefit from our messages and what we've talked about. Please make that share. Please also go to goarrow.org. That's GOARO.org. Now, the name of the nonprofit is actually Abuse Refuge Org, so that's Arrow, goarrow.org. And of course, normtherapy.com. That's normtherapy.com. And remember, it's not my normal that I want you to have. It's your normal we want to help you find. I don't want you to be like Radha. I don't want you to be like Kelly. I don't want you to be like Michael. I want you to be like yourself, the one that finds themselves once you are out of that abusive circumstance. If you're interested in applying to participate in our live sessions as a guest, victim, survivor, or any other capacity, please email us at contact@normtherapy.com. Thank you for joining, and we can't wait to see you again on Thursday, June 13th at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I will be interviewing Christine Sabinorio. She's our HR infographics coordinator at Abuse Refuge Org. And I just want to say, at the top of the goarrow.org website, there is a donate button. We live by donations, so please make a donation and help another life. Raja, you can of course you can close us out.
Thank you very much, Michael. And it's a pleasure talking to you. And I had a good time, and I hope I have answered all your questions.
Did a
Uh,
wonderful job. I mean, I enjoyed it immensely. Thank you
thank,
very much.
thank you. And it's always a pleasure to work with Arrow and my beautiful managers who are very supportive and, very supportive and accommodating. So,
Enjoy your
yeah.
new family, your grandchild, and enjoy
Thank,
you, and may you find good peace and harmony and happiness in all things you touch. I'll look
thank you
forward to,
so much.
okay?
Thank you. Bye.